Hey guys, how are you all doing? This is the MMA breakdown with my recap for UFC Fight Night 42, Henderson versus Khabilov. I'm a little late with this recap, so I'll try to keep this really quick, but I thought the main card for this event was pretty good, pretty entertaining, a lot of finishes. Preliminary card, though, was very slow. So overall, I think a decent event, but let's run through it quickly. I'll give you my thoughts on everything that happened. So starting off on the UFC Fight Pass preliminary card, light heavyweight Patrick Cummings TKO'd Roger Narvaez in the second round. Cummings was pretty dominant, was able to get the single leg pretty much anytime he wanted to. On the feet, he didn't look that good. He opened up with some ground and pound when he got Narvaez to the ground at times. I didn't think his takedowns looked that clean, but he got the win. I don't really expect him to do too much in the division. His next fight's already been booked against Kyle Kingsbury, I believe. That's on the Fox card in July, so a really quick turnaround. And I think that's a really interesting fight. Not considering the layoff, I'd say Kingsbury handles him fairly easily, but Kingsbury is coming out of retirement. Interesting fight, but for a guy with a really hyped wrestling background, didn't seem to be that dominant of a wrestler, even against a no-name like Narvaez. But Cummings gets the win, and I don't expect much from Narvaez either. Next, moving on to the Fox Sports 1 prelim card, lightweight John Tuck submitted Jake Lindsay with a heel kick to the ribs. A TKO really, but Lindsay tapped to the heel kick. Jake Lindsay, I thought, looked really bad. Just didn't seem to have any real fire and any energy on the feet. John Tuck was able to land some big overhands on him, even dropped him early in the first round. And then on the ground, really took control, was able to control him with positioning. Eventually took the back in that third round and was able to land those heel kicks. Decent win for Tuck. I'm not really high on him. I thought he looked really bad in his last fight, getting outstruck by Norman Park. But seems to be a talented grappler, and I think he should fight Mitch Clark next. Mitch Clark coming off of a really big win over Iaquinta, but both guys seem like they're going to have trouble really moving up the ranks in the division. Two grapplers, I think that would be a really good matchup, John Tuck and Mitch Clark. And Jake Lindsay, I think he just looked like, basically what he was, a newcomer, not much hype. I know he was a champion from some regional organization, but I think he definitely looked like not a UFC caliber fighter, even in this age. He really didn't have much for Tuck. In the clinch, he landed a few knees here and there, but Tuck really just was in control of the striking and the grappling here. Next up at flyweight, Scott Young Guns Jorgensen, decision Danny Martinez. Jorgensen, it's clear that the cut to flyweight is not working out for him. The last fight he did get, he got screwed over, getting headbutted by Formiga and then subsequently submitted. But the fight with Zach Makovsky, you saw he wasn't fast enough to deal with the wrestling of Makovsky, and Makovsky was even beating him on the feet in that fight. And in this fight, Martinez just put it on him on the feet, nearly knocked him out in that second round. I think I gave Martinez the second round, but Jorgensen did win the fight. He won the first and third. He was able to use the wrestling in that second round also was able to use the wrestling when he got hurt and was in trouble, but he just looked bad on the feet, and he's not quick enough on the feet to deal with these flyweights. I really don't understand what he thinks he's gaining by fighting at flyweight. The guy was an elite bantamweight, and just a year ago he had a really tough fight with Faber and did pretty well in that fight. I believe it went to the third or fourth round. I mean, if this is the best he can do at flyweight, even though he's coming off of win, I think he should retire. I mean, he just did not look good at all, and nearly getting knocked out by an unranked guy in a division as thin as flyweight is not good, and I don't think that performance, that wrestling heavy performance, is going to get the job done against any of the other higher ranked flyweights. But I would really like to see him go back up to bantamweight because the only guys he lost to there were top guys, Eddie Wineland, Barrow, which he took to a decision, and Faber. So I don't like Jorgensen at all at flyweight. I don't think he has any hope there. I think he should fight the winner of McCall and Pickett. Another guy, Pickett, who didn't look great, dropping to flyweight. But anyway, Jorgensen moves on. And Danny Martinez, I see some hope for him. He looked good on the feet, showed some power, almost finished Jorgensen. But really needs to shore up that hole in his takedown defense because Jorgensen was, even as hurt as he was able to get the takedown anytime he wanted to against Martinez. Next up at welterweight, Lance Benoist decisioned Bobby Voelker. I picked Benoist here. He's coming off of a long layoff, but he looked really good. He looked strong with the grappling early on, was able to get Voelker down and get top position. Didn't really come close with any submissions. I gave the second round to Voelker, though. He was able to keep it on the feet and outwork Benoist there. In third round, again, Benoist was able to get him down. Voelker, I think, is done in the UFC. I know he's a real tough guy. He's had some exciting fights, but he just doesn't have much to offer, even at the level of fighting guys like Lance Benoist in his last fight, getting dominated by Macario, a finalist from Tough Brazil. I just don't think he can compete with even these low-level guys. And Benoist, a good performance considering the almost a 2-year layoff. I think, he can get better and improve. Seems to be a good grappler. His last fight was a pretty bad loss, though, to Sean Pearson, who's a pretty old guy and not a bad fighter, but I think he still has a bit of hope to move up in the division. But Bobby Voelker, I think he should retire. And last fight on the Fox Sports 1 prelim card, Sergio Pettis, decision Yatsen Mesa. Very boring, slow fight. Pettis won it, though, easily with the striking. Mesa wasn't able to use his wrestling at all. And I think this is just part of the growing pains for Pettis, a super young kid. He's only 20, I believe. And he's going to have fights like this real young, still pretty inexperienced, but he got the win, and this was a guy he definitely, was supposed to get the win over. He got the job done. He moves on. I thought he looked great against Caceres. I thought he was really dominating him up until he got choked out, so I still have a lot of hope for Pettis. Again, he's super young, and Mesa, I think he's in the lower tier of the division, and his only win so far has been against John Albert. He got badly out-grappled by Camus, and I don't see him really becoming anything more in the division. And onto the main card at bantamweight, Brian Caraway with a great performance submitted Eric Perez in the second round. Great performance by Caraway. Got him down in that first round. Couldn't get the submission. Second round, I think Perez took him down and Caraway was able to reverse. And Caraway's just nasty once he gets your back. He's shown that in his fight with Mitch Gagnon. Real nasty, tough guy on the mat. And was able to get the choke over Perez. I'm not writing off Perez. He's still super young, another guy. Still getting his feet wet in the UFC. His wins have come over, really no-name guys at the very bottom of the division. And he competed with Caraway here in that first round on the feet. He was doing better, and I think he even took Caraway down at one point. But real good win for Caraway. This is a serious guy in the division. Not sure how far he can go, but I think he still can move up higher. People are saying he should fight Yuri Alcantara. That's a good fight. I'd rather see Alcantara fight Johnny Eduardo. I think that would be a great matchup. But yeah, he should get a step up next. And if he gets it on the mat, he's a real dangerous guy. Next up, a lightweight, Piotr Holman submitted Yves Edwards in the third round. Yves Edwards came out strong in the first round, was really controlling the striking at distance, landing good kicks and strikes. In the clinch, he was defending that takedown early on and landing some good elbows off the clinch. But then Piotr Holman in that second and third round was just ragdolling him. He got the waist lock on Edwards and just was able to drag him down anytime he wanted to. Was working some good ground and pound, some good elbows to the side of the head from back control. Cut Edwards open at one point, and then in that third round just cinched up the rear naked, and Edwards tapped quickly. Good win for Holman. He had a decent fight with Iaquinta, but dropped that and getting a win over a guy like Edwards. I think that's good stuff. He looked really strong with the wrestling here, and I expect him to continue to improve and do better. And he's still the only guy to this day to finish Francisco Trinaldo in the UFC. So he's got a couple of finishes over good guys in the UFC, and keep an eye on him. Next up, also a lightweight, Rafael Dos Anjos TKO Jason Hein the second round. Hein looked a lot better in this fight than I expected him to. He seemed to have the snappier striking early on and was able to take down Dos Anjos, but Dos Anjos was able to use his really slick BJJ, and Hein was constantly defending submissions, defending the Kimura, and then Dos Anjos started to get more comfortable on the feet, was landing some real good kicks, strikes, and in that second round eventually knocked down Hein, and Hein was going for a sweep trying to get back up, a really bad stoppage, but Dos Anjos did hurt him and really mixed his striking together with his ground game. And it's been a long time since we've seen Dos Anjos' ground game, so good win for him. I think this fight kind of exposed his takedown defense. I mean, he was out-wrestled by Nurmagomedov, but that guy, is one of the best wrestlers in MMA right now, and I thought that was kind of an exception, but Jason Hein being able to take him down fairly easily in this fight. I think Dos Anjos has a hole there, and other guys are going to expose it. But good win, and he should fight another top 10 guy, maybe Khabilov, but good one for him. And moving on to flyweight, John Dodson TKOing John Moraga. It's a doctor stoppage between the second and third round. Dodson started this fight off really slow, pretty conservative, and I really wasn't expecting that in that Montague fight. He came out hot right out of the gate. just destroyed him real early on, and this was a much different fight. He seemed a lot more conservative, cautious. He did have little flurries where he would, chase after blitz Moraga, put him on his heels. He did take him down at one point off one of those flurries. Still showed the big power when he was trying to throw a kick, but caught Moraga with the knee, and the doctors called it. Dodson, obviously still very athletic, super explosive, and has big power, but before this fight, I was really sold on him as a guy who could potentially be a real threat to Mighty Mouse. Their first fight was pretty close. He got a few knockdowns on Mighty Mouse, but I'm not so certain after this performance. I don't think waiting around like that, being cautious, I don't think that's going to work a second time around against Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse comes out, right from the opening bell. He's 100% forward motion in your face. He gets right to work, and I don't think Dodson could wait around like that, especially if it goes into the second, third round. Johnson gets stronger there. It's still a rematch that needs to happen, and they might as well make it now. Initially, after this fight, I thought, I want to see Dodson get one more fight against Benavidez to really, get over that hump and validate himself as the next contender. But that's a really bad fight, especially if Benavidez wins that. No one wants to see Benavidez, Mighty Mouse 3, and then you kill off Dodson as a contender if he can't even, beat the guy that Mighty Mouse has beaten twice and knocked out in the first round in the last fight. So might as well make the rematch with Dodson and Mighty Mouse now. But again, after this performance, obviously still has big power, but fighting at that really slow, cautious pace, I don't think that's going to work out against Mighty Mouse. And next up, the co-main event, big robbery. Diego Sanchez got the split decision over Ross Pearson. If it wasn't for this robbery, I would have had a perfect night of picks. I would have been, 11 fights, I think? Yeah, I would have been 11 for 11. I picked Pearson to win the fight. Fight played out pretty much as I saw it. Pearson pretty much being the more technical striker. I'm not going to go into how bad a robbery this was. I will say that first round I thought could have gone either way, and I actually did. I was kind of split when I watched this live. Whether I should give it to Pearson or Sanchez. I thought that flurry that Sanchez landed at the end, I thought that was kind of the only major offense that happened in that first round. But second and third round, Pearson, he wobbled Sanchez and dropped him at one point, I think with a high kick, and really outstruck him, outlanded him. And then watching on Fox Sports 1 the post-fight wrap-up, whatever it's called, with Melendez and Dominic Cruz, listening to them trying to justify Sanchez's win, saying, I think Melendez said it's about the scorecards, it's not about who won the fight. That really disgusted me. It was sickening, listening to these guys trying to defend the judges. Obvious win for Pearson, bad robbery. Sanchez, I think he should retire. I mean, his fights aren't even really exciting anymore. He's not able to make them brawls. Guys have figured him out. Guys are too technical, and they don't want to fight. They don't want to just trade in the middle with him. When a guy like Melendez does that, obviously it makes for a super exciting fight. But you saw Jury and Pearson, they just really shut down Diego's offense, and I didn't think either. Obviously, the Jury fight was really boring, and this fight not as boring, but I don't enjoy watching Sanchez fight anymore. And the guy's taken so much damage over the years. I mean, when was the last time he was in a fight? Well, I guess against Jury, where he didn't just get beat up and get his face rearranged after the throughout the fight. But the Campman fight, the Melendez fight. This guy's taking way too much damage, and you know he can't implement effective offense anymore. I thought he lost the fight to Gomi. I think he should retire. And Ross Pearson, it's good that he got his win bonus, and the UFC said they're gonna treat him as the winner of this fight, so that's good. I gotta say, I miss the old Ross Pearson though, the style he used to fight Dennis Seaver. For you new fans, you should go check out that fight. That I really love that Ross Pearson Dennis Seaver fight way back in the day. He used to throw at such a high volume. Did the same thing to Edson Barboza, and I thought he got robbed in that fight. And now he really seems to be focusing on power, throwing at a low volume. And I'm not sold on him as a contender at lightweight. I think he's a mid-level guy, but he's gonna need to beat a guy who has a win streak going, and a guy who's closer to the top 10 to really put him into the top 10 and get people talking about him as a potential contender. But solid fighter and solid win for him, outboxing Sanchez. And in the main event, Ben Henderson with a great, beautiful performance, finish of Rustam Khabilov, submitting him in the 4th round. Both guys came to fight. I gave Khabilov the 1st and 3rd round. He was able to get some takedowns on the feet. He was going after it. Khabilov really elevated himself in my mind with this fight. I think he's a top 10 guy, and I think he should fight a guy like TJ Grant if he can ever come back, or maybe even RDA coming off a win here. But this is a performance, the Ben Henderson of old, the guy we've been waiting to see return. I thought his fights against Melendez and Thompson, he just didn't seem to have quite the effort. But this fight, he has great cardio. He pushed such a great pace. The wrestling was back and forth. The striking was great, and really hurt him with that lead uppercut followed by a cross, which put Khabilov down, and just jumped on the rear naked choke and ended the fight. Great to see. Henderson hasn't really hurt anyone with strikes since the Nate Diaz fight, and he's got all the tools to be just a super talented guy, and I think he could finish a bunch of people. And since he lost his title, I thought it was really important for him to finish people and show that he deserves that 3rd fight with Perez, and he definitely proved it here. I mean, if he can get a couple more wins like that, I think he's the biggest threat to Perez possibly. He needs a fight against another top guy, top contender, probably Nurmagomedov, or maybe a rematch with the winner of Cerrone and Jim Miller, even though he beat both of those guys. But it was great to see Henderson really fight with a lot of fire and see that submission offense return from him. I believe his last submission one was against Donald Cerrone back in the WEC. But really great performance for him, and this is the Ben Henderson we've all been waiting for, and I think we all knew, he had all the tools to fight like this. But great performance, and also, again, great fight by Khabilov. Really, going from Yancy Medeiros to Jorge Masvidal, and now Ben Henderson, and putting up a really competitive fight and winning, I thought, 2 of those first 3 rounds. Really put himself in the top 10 for me with this fight, and he should get a top guy too. I think him against Nate Diaz would be a great fight if Nate Diaz ever comes back. But great win for Henderson. Alright guys, that's my recap for UFC Fight Night 42, Henderson versus Khabilov. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like the video, comment with your thoughts, subscribe, take care, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.